And hi-ho, East Alabama and West Georgia. Dr. Don in here with you. It is 7:32 p.m. on your Wednesday evening, 7:32 p.m. Central, 7 or 8:32 p.m. Eastern. And this is Weather Talk Live. We're going to talk about the potential of a significant winter storm across Alabama and Georgia, the deep south, as we head into your early Friday morning and throughout the day on Friday. I told you last night that there would be changes to the forecast. I felt good about what we had last night, given the data we had at that time. But as you get closer to these events, you begin to get higher resolution in the models. You begin to get more meaningful data because data from current real-time balloon releases are actually fed into the models when you get to within 48 hours. So you really start to get much more current suggestions versus historical data in the models, if that makes sense to you. So we're in that window now of where we're really beginning to get good data from what's actually taking place versus what our computers have been telling us could possibly take place. And everything still looks almost identical to the way it looked last night, with one exception. And that is, it now appears that the low pressure that moves out into the Gulf of Mexico, though it is going to be a suppressed low, meaning that it's going to be kind of a smaller low pressure system, which is going to produce a good bit of precipitation. But it now appears that it's going to pull some warm air up off the Gulf of Mexico, and that warm air will override the cold air that will already be in place in the onset of the precipitation. And so for areas south of the I-20 corridor in both Alabama and Georgia, the duration of frozen precipitation now appears that it will not be as long-lasting as we thought it might when we were looking at it last night. So even though you're going to see some frozen precipitation Friday morning when this starts, we think that by 8, 9, 10 a.m. Friday morning, what frozen precipitation is falling will quickly change over to a mixture of snow and sleet and freezing rain, and then it'll transition to freezing rain and all liquid, and then eventually it will turn over to a very cold rain, and anything that has already accumulated will wash away relatively quick across East Alabama and West Georgia. So instead of having a 6, 7, 8-hour winter weather event across East Alabama and West Georgia, it now looks like that may be more of a 4 to 5-hour weather event, and then we switch over to all rain and everything that's there gets washed away. So could there still be some travel problems early Friday morning across East Alabama and West Georgia? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I'll be kind of surprised if we don't have some travel issues. We're talking along and south of the I-20 corridor. And then along and north of the I-20 corridor, the frozen precipitation will last longer. And then maybe up there across the northern tier or northern 2 tiers of counties across North Alabama, and then across North Georgia, there's still a decent chance that we will remain in the snow for quite some time, maybe up until 3, 4, 5 o'clock Friday afternoon, and then we may see a transition over to snow, sleet, and freezing rain, even across the northernmost counties of Alabama and Georgia as we head towards sunset on Friday evening, which could be a significant problem. I mean, that could put a layer of ice on top of whatever snow has already accumulated. So right now it looks like the most significant adverse effects from this winter storm will be across the northern 1 or 2 tiers of counties across Alabama and across Georgia. So that's the main difference between the time we spent together last night and where we are this evening. I'm not saying you're not going to see anything in Randolph County, Alabama, in Troup County, Georgia, but I don't think it's going to be a long duration event, and I think we do change over to a cold rain by 10 a.m. Friday morning, so whatever problems we may have out there should go away fairly quickly after that changeover takes place. All right, so now let's take a look at our watches and warnings. You see that back into Mississippi, western Tennessee, and also back over into Arkansas and northern Louisiana, we already have a winter storm warning that was issued this afternoon, so they've already upgraded from winter storm watch to winter storm warning. In Alabama, we're still under that winter storm watch. That's basically from Roanoke to Ashland to Sylacauga, and then back over just south of Birmingham, north, you're under a winter storm watch. From that line south, there are no advisories in effect at the moment. And then we go over into Georgia, and we draw that line pretty much right on across the state of Georgia over toward Augusta. North, you're still under a winter storm watch. And portions of South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee also are under a winter storm watch. The National Weather Service most likely will make their changes either later on tonight around 10 or 11 p.m. or around 3 a.m. tomorrow morning when they start putting the midnight shift starts putting out their morning weather package for the local media in both states. They do that at about 3 o'clock in the morning. Those changes may take place then. Here's what I anticipate. I think most likely along the I-20 corridor in Alabama and in Georgia, north, you're going to see the winter storm watch upgraded to a winter storm warning. If you look over there in Mississippi and draw that line right across Alabama and then over into Georgia, north, I think that's pretty much where the winter storm warning is going to be for Alabama and Georgia. I anticipate that those southern tier of counties, and I'm talking about Talladega, Clay, Randolph, Heard, Coweta, will most likely either be included in the warning or they will issue a winter weather advisory for those counties. And that could extend one tier of counties north up to the I-20 corridor as well. And then from I-20, both in Alabama and Georgia, north, I think we're looking at a winter storm warning, which would line up pretty good with what Mississippi has done. I think the entire state of Tennessee is a winter storm warning for sure, and probably the same for western North Carolina and upstate South Carolina. So I think that's what's going to happen with the watches and warnings a little later on this evening, either sometime between 10 and 11 p.m. this evening or around 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. So what does all this mean? You want to get right down to the nuts and bolts of this thing, and let me just tell you what we think is going to happen now with the data changes that we received during the day today. So we'll get rid of the watches. There we go. So here's the new prognostication for the state of Alabama and for West Georgia. And we'll start in the north and we'll work our way down to the south. Across North Alabama and across most of North Georgia, we're generally speaking about 2 to 4 inches of snow. It's going to start in the pre-dawn hours of Friday morning in Alabama, and probably right around daybreak or shortly after daybreak across northeast Georgia. And when it starts, it's going to be relatively heavy. I mean, we're going to go from maybe a little flurry, and within 5 or 10 minutes, we're going to be in full-blown heavy snow. And that heavy snow rate is going to continue for several hours on Friday morning. So we're going to go from nothing to 4 inches relatively quick across North Alabama and across North Georgia. Then you come down to about maybe the, Coleman, maybe just a little bit south of Coleman. You're looking at 1 to 2 inches of snow accumulation. That would be places like Coleman and Gadsden, and then maybe Anniston, Birmingham. North Birmingham may get in on that 1 to 2 inches of snow. And then below that, across places like Franklin, Roanoke, Wedowee, Woodland, back over in Clay County, Lineville, Ashland, and then Sylacauga, Childersburg up to Talladega. We're looking at a half-inch of snow. Half inch to 1 inch, I think, is going to be your snow total. And then south of that, we're just looking at a trace of snow, maybe on grassy areas and rooftops in places like Lafayette Valley, West Point, Lynette, back over toward Alexander City. And then south of that, south of the I-85 corridor, I mean, Auburn, Opelika may get in on that trace as well. And then south of the I-85 corridor, right now we're just looking at a cold rain. So that's what I think the snow totals are gonna look like, and I think they're across East Alabama, up to the I-20 corridor. You're going to be looking at maybe an hour or two of full-blown snow, and then you're going to switch over to that mixture, and then maybe by 9, 10, 11 o'clock on Friday morning, you're going to change over to all liquid rain, and whatever has accumulated by that time is going to go away pretty quick. Now, that's Friday. And then Friday night, we're going to drop well below freezing again. So any moisture that is left out there on the roadways on Friday night across East Alabama and West Georgia will refreeze. So black ice will be a problem during the overnight hours Friday night and into Saturday morning. I think Saturday afternoon we get well above freezing across East Alabama and West Georgia, upper 30s, maybe even lower 40s. And we're going to have some wind on the backside of all this late Friday night into Saturday. So a combination of radiational heating during the day on Saturday and with those gusty winds, 20, 30 miles per hour, I think any residual moisture that's left on Saturday will get evaporated and will dry up during the day on Saturday. So I really don't anticipate any black ice problems on Saturday night into Sunday. And gosh, by the time we get to Sunday, we're going to be basking in the beautiful sunlight, and we'll be in the low 40s, mid 40s maybe for daytime highs. So that'll be nice. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. This is actually a pretty decent setup for East Alabama and West Georgia in that you get to enjoy maybe a little snow and some mix for several hours Friday morning, and then it goes away, and you don't have to deal with all the serious problems that the folks in extreme North Alabama and North Georgia may have to deal with for most of the day on Friday into Friday night. So let's look at a couple of other things here. Here's the winter weather impacts, the impacts that are likely. Again, I-85 north up to maybe Roanoke and maybe Alexander City and back over toward Birmingham. That is going to be the limited risk impact area. Winter driving should be done with caution in those areas. And then from Roanoke over to Ashland, to Sylacauga, to Birmingham, up to the I-20 corridor, we're talking about elevated impacts. Hazardous driving conditions will be possible, and closures and disruptions to infrastructure may occur in those areas. So Roanoke, Roanoke, Wedowee, Woodland, maybe even Wadley, you're still involved in this thing. So we're not saying that it's all over, you're not going to get anything. You could still certainly have some problems. I just don't think they're going to be as long a duration as we thought last night. I don't think this is going to be an all-day thing for East Alabama. Then you get up there around the I-20 corridor. We're talking about Anniston, Oxford, back over to North Birmingham and north. That is where the significant impact area will be. Dangerous or impossible driving conditions will be likely. Widespread closures and disruptions to infrastructure may occur up there in those pink areas across North Alabama. And you can pretty much take those lines and draw them right across the state of Georgia as well. So I-20 over to Atlanta, and then I-85 northeast out of Atlanta. From that line north is where the significant impacts will be in Georgia. From that line south, down below, just below Atlanta Metro, is where the elevated impacts would be. And then beyond that, down to about, maybe just north of Macon would be the limited, or maybe down to the Columbus area. You might, or just north of Columbus might be the limited impact area. Basically, the I-85 corridor up to Atlanta. So for West Georgia, we're talking about maybe some accumulation in places like Carroll County and down to around Franklin and Heard County. From Franklin down to LaGrange, you're going to be in that limited impact area. And then from maybe northern or central Harris County south, you're just going to be looking at a cold rain throughout the duration of this event. So I think that's all of the graphics that we have there. Let me go over to our current Southern Union State Community College Live Doppler HD radar, and you can see there is no precipitation across Alabama or Georgia at this hour. Good thing, too, because it is nasty cold out there again tonight. We look back over into Texas, and you can see we're beginning to see some signals over there that this thing is developing, and we'll watch that area. Our low pressure will form down here in the Gulf of Mexico. We're still expecting it to pretty much take the same track that we've been forecasting the entire time. It's just that we now think, according to the latest data, that it's going to pull some warm air up off the Gulf of Mexico. So we're going to have that warm nose or that warm layer that's going to override the cold air that's going to be at the surface. No question it's going to be cold enough at the surface to support snow. But the problem is you get that layer of warmer air up in the upper levels of the atmosphere, up in the snow growth area, and it just can't support snow. So by the time it hits the ground, it just freezes. But then as the day wears on, that surface temperature warms up to 32 or just above 32. Then you go all liquid, and we think that's what's going to happen across most of East Alabama and West Georgia. For those of you who are watching us up in Northeast Georgia, however, much different situation, I think, up here. Probably, again, along the I-85 corridor and north is where the significant snows will occur in the state of Georgia, and we're talking about the order of 1 to 5 inches up here in White County, Georgia, which is where we broadcast from, places like Cleveland and Helen, back over toward Dahlonega and back towards Clarksville in Habersham County, and then right up here along the northern tier of counties across North Georgia. Some of the higher elevations up there could see 5, 6, 7 inches of snow before this is done on Friday evening. There's going to be a couple of 2 or 3 hours Friday afternoon in Northeast Georgia where we could see a change over to freezing rain. So we could have a significant snowpack, and then we could get, a trace or up to 1/10 of an inch of snow of freezing rain on top of the snow, and then the winds will kick up 20, 30 miles per hour as we hit sunset on Friday evening. So there is an increasing risk of maybe some icing issues up here in Northeast Georgia that could cause a few trees to come down and some scattered power outages as well. So make sure you keep that in mind as you plan accordingly. All right, so that's kind of a quick update on what we're looking at this hour. Look, we've been in meetings all day long planning and staffing and getting ready for this thing up in the mountains of Northeast Georgia. It's been a long day, and I apologize for running a little bit late getting on, but I was late getting back to the studio, and then I wanted to make sure I had the absolute latest information before we went on, so it took a few minutes to get all the latest information loaded in the computer system, so that's why we're running a little bit late. So I'm going to go over here and take a peek at the chat room. This is my most favorite part of doing these Weather Talk Lives, where we can just kind of have a conversation. And I got to tell you, coming up pretty soon, you're going to be able to join me live. We're going to let you come on with me if you want to do that. You don't have to. But we're going to be utilizing Discord, and we started that process a couple of months ago, and it turned out to be a little more involved than I thought it was going to be. But real soon, hopefully before we have our next significant weather threat, you're going to be able to join me. And instead of just reading what you're typing, if you want to come on with me, you can ask those questions. And yeah, I've got an emergency cutoff button, so we get a knucklehead on here. I can get them off real quick. So let me see what you got going on out here. Hey, Kevin Pinkard, that's the fall guy right there. Good evening to you too, sir. Maureen, good evening, everybody. Patricia, hello from Roanoke. There's Patrick asking, what's it looking like for Wadley? You're going to have some stuff on Friday morning. It's not going to last very long. I think maybe 2, 3, 4 hours of a mixture of sleet and snow. You could see a half inch up to an inch over there on the West Bank. And then by 9 or 10 a.m. on your Friday morning, I think you change over to all liquid rain and it washes away whatever has accumulated over there. I think there could be some travel problems in Randolph County early Friday, but I think by 9, 10, 11 o'clock Friday morning, road conditions will be much, much better once that changeover to all rain takes place. Deborah's watching us this evening. Beverly is in Rock Mills. There's Caroline Ramsey watching from Wadowee. Let's see. We've got Lisa in here. There's Jamie Dukas. Get your ducks in a row with Dukas. Y'all do know that my wife gets sick and tired of hearing me say that in my sleep. I say it so much. But you do owe it to yourself to get in touch with Jamie and at least see what he can do for you. Odds are he can save you some money. Jamie Dukas, he is the insurance guy. All right, so he's watching Dr. Don and Woodland versus Wadley basketball at the same time. Let's see here. There's my Taylor's Crossroads friends. There's Barbara Earl watching us in Roanoke. Alexander City. Good question for Alexander City. I think you're in that trace to 1 inch area. I think you'll see some stuff in Alexander City. But again, we've got that warm layer that's going to override the cold air probably by mid-morning at the latest. So anything that you do get in Alexander City will go away pretty quick. Glenn Morgan is in Lafayette. Patricia's watching us this evening. Thank you, Linda got it. Nan's watching us. Amanda is in Roanoke. Beverly is watching us. Lamar Brooks is in North Randolph County. Chris watching us from Valley. Kathy is asking about LaGrange. You're, I think, in that half inch to 1 inch category, possibly. But again, same thing for LaGrange. Anything that you do receive by 9, 10 a.m. Friday morning is likely going to get washed away because you're going to switch over to all rain. Kim is on County Road 43 in Wadley. She's concerned about power outages. I don't think you're going to have a problem with power outages in Randolph County. And the reason being, you're not going to have a huge snow load, and you're not going to have significant icing. Could you see 1/10 of an inch of ice for a couple of 2 or 3 hours on Friday morning? Yeah, you could. Maybe even just a little bit more than that. But the winds won't really pick up until we get to the end of this thing on Friday afternoon. And by that time, any ice or snow accumulation that you've got in East Alabama and West Georgia will have melted and been washed away. So I really am not concerned. Could there be some scattered power outages? Yes. That's with any type of weather system. But I am not overly concerned about widespread power loss across East Alabama and West Georgia. I just don't think there's going to be enough accumulation in Randolph County to be concerned about limbs and power lines right now. Could that change? Well, certainly it could, because this time last night, we thought that you would see maybe 2-3 inches of snow across East Alabama and West Georgia. Well, just in 24 hours, the models have backed off that idea. Could they return that idea by this time tomorrow night? Absolutely, that could happen. I don't think it'll happen because the trend is in the other direction, but it is certainly possible. And again, folks, like I told you last night, there's always a bust factor to every single forecast out there, and I'm talking a bust factor in both ways. The forecast is a bust because it doesn't do anything, or the forecast is a bust because it does more than what the models told us it was going to do. The closer we get to the actual onset of precipitation, the better fine-tuned that forecast is going to be. Problem is, the only thing people remember was that 5-inch forecast that was 6 days ago, or some of those models that you saw. I even posted one that was showing 10, 11, 12, 15 inches across East Alabama and West Georgia. I didn't post that as a forecast. I just posted it because it's kind of fun that far out to look at the different models and get different ideas of what could happen. So, yeah, this could change. This time tomorrow night, we may be sitting here talking about, copious amounts of snow again. We're just not, we're doing good to get it right as it's happening, much less 48 hours in advance. Let's see here. Pamela's in Opelika. Angel asking about LaGrange. I just answered that. How much snow do I think Malone will get? You're in that trace to 1 inch. Kim, I agree with your comment about don't eat yellow snow. Not a good idea. Mimi Walker is watching us tonight. Jessica saying she just hopes the power doesn't go out for a couple of days like last time. Again, I'm not overly concerned about power issues. Given the latest information, again, that all could change. Reba's watching us over on the West Bank in Wadley. Linda's watching us. Carol wants more snow in Daviston. Well, it's not a done deal yet. You just hang in there. No, Bowden is not in that elevated risk area. Let me go back to that graphic for you. Bowden is south of I-20 up here in southern Carroll County, right close to the Carroll County Alabama state line, Randolph County state line, Randolph County line. So you would be south of I-20, so no, you're not in that, you're in the elevated risk, yes. You're not in the significant impact. I'm sorry, that's my bad. You are in that elevated risk area, but again, let me go back to the snow amounts. The elevated risk area right now is in that, half inch to an inch, maybe inch and a half category. 2 inches in some spots right around the I-20 corridor, certainly not going to be out of the question. Douglasville, soon to be a Graham resident. Ashley's in the house. Bobby G. Thank you, Bobby. Carrie's watching us from Graham. Kathy Parker's in Roanoke, Alabama. Travel for Clay County on Friday. I think there's a couple of 2 or 3 hours Friday morning. Travel's not going to be fun in Clay County, Randolph County, even over in Heard County. South of that, I'm not really sure that we have any significant travel problems. There certainly could be some slick spots on the road. I think you got 2 or 3 hours there Friday morning where it might be kind of treacherous to be traveling in that area that you're asking about. But we're going to change over to all liquid rain by 9 or 10 o'clock Friday morning, so any problems will go away pretty quickly in Clay County. Same thing for the Welch area. Thank you, Anita. Weather radios can be purchased at your local department store. You know, that big one that you have to wear pajamas to go to? You know what I'm talking about? You can get them there. In Roanoke, there are a couple of places that sell them. You have a Southern Home Comfort has got them, or at least they used to. They're on Main Street in Roanoke. And of course, you can get them on Amazon, and you can get them in a couple of days. So it won't do you much good for this event, but you can get them on Amazon. That's where I buy all of mine. I-20, that's where the more significant snow accumulations could be 1 to 2 inches. And then the further north you go, by the time you get to the Alabama-Tennessee state line, we're looking at 2 to 4 inches. Yeah, I've touched on Carrollton, Sonia, but I'll do it for you again. You're up there, pretty close to that I-20 corridor, so you're in that 1 to 2 inch possible snow accumulation range up there around Carrollton. But again, it's going to change over to all rain by 9, 10 o'clock Friday morning. So if you do get a couple of inches of snow on the ground, it's only going to be there for, a couple of 2 or 3 hours. And then you're going to warm up above 32, and that rain is going to wash it all away. So not an all-day event for Carrollton. Chambers County, you're going to be down there in that half inch to a trace. A trace to 1 inch, certainly plausible in the Chambers County area. Same thing for Valley, though you're on the south end of it. I would expect lesser amounts of snow down in the Valley area. Maybe, a dusting on the grassy areas and rooftops up to about a half inch in the Valley area. Same thing for LaGrange. Hey, Ranburn. Cleburne County, depending on where you are in Cleburne, Cleburne is a pretty long county. Up around the I-20 corridor in Cleburne, you're in that 1 to 2 inch range. The further north you go, you get up there around Cherokee County, you're probably, the upper end of that 1 to 2 inch range, maybe even getting up into about 2.5 inches, maybe even 3. Lisa's watching us in Casita. 5 points in Fredonia. Yeah, an inch is plausible there. Neil's got a good idea if you can get up there. Mount Cheahaw would be the place to be. Absolutely no question about that. Pretty sure Cheahaw will come in with the deepest snow totals in the state of Alabama. I would expect on top of Cheahaw, it'll even surpass that 2 to 4 up there in Huntsville. No question. Problem is getting up there. If they have any availability, which they probably don't, and you get you a room up there tomorrow and you go up tomorrow night and you plan to stay till Saturday or Sunday, yeah, you could enjoy pretty good snow. Hey, Lisa in Lafayette, Alabama. Gadsden, you're going to be up there in that 2 to 3 inch range, a couple of 2 to 3 inches of snow, certainly possible in Gadsden. Hey, Barbara in Valley. Somerville and Rome, I'd go with 2 to 3 inches over there. Will Jacksonville, Alabama, be closer to 1 or 3 inches, if any? Tony, you would be in that probably 2 to 3 inch area. Probably closer to 2, but somewhere between 2 to 3 inches. Well, thank you, Stephen. Valley, Alabama, a trace to half inch. 1 inch wouldn't surprise me. Hey, John McKinney. Brother, it is frigid up here in the mountains of northeast Georgia. It is hard to stay. Let me tell you what I did. So I got home from work, and producer Tracy had fixed supper, and she had fixed a very delicious dish in the crock pot. And so I came in, and I just stood over the crock pot and put my hands on top of it to thaw my hands out before I fix supper. It is cold up here, and I just don't do well in the cold. You see, most of the time when I'm doing my lives, I'm wearing a hoodie. Folks, I put a hoodie on about the middle of September, and I don't take them off until well into March and April, maybe even May. I just get cold very easy. That is correct, Mary. Bundle up, Buttercup. Thank you, Sonia. Cartersville, Georgia. Cartersville. Yeah, you're probably in that 2-inch range, somewhere around there. Hey, Bradley Martin. Bradley's one of our awesome firefighters up here in White County. Sheila is in Gadsden, Alabama. Andrew's asking about Roanoke. Roanoke is going to be in that 1/2-inch to 1-inch category. Look, and I've said this last night, and I've said it several times today. There will be surprises. There's going to be surprises. There are going to be some areas you see on this map where, like up in the 2 to 4-inch category, there are going to be some spots maybe in the 5 to 6-inch category. There are going to be some spots up there that doesn't even get 2 inches. Same thing across East Alabama and West Georgia. We're calling for, a 1/2-inch to 1 inch of snow for most of East Alabama and West Georgia. And there could be some pockets in there that get 2 inches of snow, yet there could be some pockets that don't get anything. It's just one of those situations where we're really just going to have to watch this thing as it develops to see how much snow we actually end up with. The thing that we've got to watch is going to be the icing. But I just don't think, even if we start to get freezing rain across East Alabama and West Georgia, I don't think it's going to last long enough to accumulate to the point where it starts causing problems. I think we're going to switch over from frozen to all liquid too fast for it to accumulate enough to create a major issue. Is anybody having trouble with audio? Because everything looks good on my end. Someone posted and said they can't hear me. All right, Bonnie is asking, what about Roanoke? I've talked about Roanoke several times, but in case you joined us late, Roanoke's probably in that 1/2-inch to 1-inch category. Chance of freezing rain and 5 points. I think there's a chance you may have an hour or two of freezing rain, but it just won't last long enough to cause any major problems. Hollis Crossroads, Machieville, 1/2 to 1 inch. Roanoke, 1/2 to 1 inch. So will the interstates be impacted coming from Lynette to Opelika? Probably not. GDOT and Alabama, I can't say for sure for Alabama, but I know the Georgia Department of Transportation has been out briming. Up here in northeast Georgia, they started yesterday, and they worked all day long today putting out brime on the roads. So I would expect the major interstates and the state highways to be just fine. Even up here in the mountains, I would expect the major roads to be okay. It'd be the secondary roads I'd be concerned about. But down there in Lynette and Opelika, I wouldn't expect a major issue on the interstate. Opelika, probably a trace, maybe a dusting down in the Auburn-Opelika area. I'm with you, Cecilia. Let's see, Bowden, Georgia. Hey, Judy. Richmond, Kentucky. How about 12 foot of snow? I have not specifically looked at Richmond, Kentucky, but I'd say you got a pretty good chance of getting some snow up there. Thanks, Remy. Yeah, everything looks good on this end. Thanks, Kim. You're welcome, Paula. Franklin, Georgia, in that 1 inch, 1.5 inch range. Rachel's in Roxton. Kimberly got out I think maybe you was trying to say it went out and came back in, maybe. We rocking and rolling. I mean, it may have. That certainly happens from time to time, but we are kicking it tonight at about 6,000 kilobits. We normally run at about 3, so we're double the speed we normally are. And, oh, by the way, folks, this is so exciting. I guess I'm officially a geek now. I was already a weather geek, but I guess now I'm a tech geek because y'all just don't understand what I've gone through over the last 7 or 8 years to have decent internet to be able to do this for you guys. We're getting fiber here at the studio, and I never thought in a million years, because, look, you talking about being out in the boondocks, they have to pipe sunlight into where we live. And I just never thought in 100 million years that we would have fiber internet available here at this location. But it's actually already hanging from the poles outside. They hadn't turned it on yet. But we're about to get fiber, and when we're going with the big package. So we're going to have incredible bandwidth. Hopefully another 30, 60 days we'll have fiber turned on. So we won't have to worry about streaming issues ever again. Randy talking about mail carriers in central and northern Randolph County and concern for the road conditions. Especially out there in the rural areas, higher elevations. You're talking about up there at Potash Ridge, up Gray Hill, up County Road 87 in the highest elevation of Randolph County. You could have a couple of hours on Friday morning where driving could certainly be dangerous and treacherous. I know all about that curve at Gray Hill because when I was the EMA director for Randolph County, I made a huge mistake and went up there in a snow and ice event and slid off into the ditch and then had to call 911 and on the fire channel and embarrass myself in front of everybody. Here's the EMA director stuck on the side of the road in a snowstorm. But anyway, there could be a couple of hours of travel issues in Randolph County Friday morning, but by 9, 10, 11 o'clock tops, you're going to be all liquid rain, and surface temperatures will rise above 32, and any problems that may exist at that time will get washed away pretty quick. Travel to work and has graveyard shift. Remy, if you're concerned about Friday night, the biggest issue Friday night may be any residual moisture that's still on the roadway could refreeze Friday night. I wouldn't expect it to be solid, but there could be some patches of black ice on Friday night across East Alabama and West Georgia. Woodland, you're probably up there in that 1 inch, inch and a half, because you're a little higher elevation up there. You could pick up an inch and a half of snow. Broaden Ridge. Kimberly says she thought she left this mess in Indiana 15 years ago. Broaden Ridge, you're in that half-inch to 1 inch area. And again, folks, even in that area where we're talking half-inch to 1 inch, there might be a few pockets of 2 inches in there as well. So. But I think it's what we're looking at. The thing, though, Kimberly, is it's not going to last but a couple of 2-3 hours for your area. And then you're going to change over to rain, solid liquid rain, and all that's going to get washed away. So this is not going to be an all-day, 2-day, all-weekend event for East Alabama and West Georgia. We're talking 2 or 3, maybe 4 hours, and then it goes away. And we're not looking at significant icing across East Alabama and West Georgia, so I'm not really that concerned about widespread power outages. There could be spotted power outages, but I just don't think it's going to be widespread. Thank you, Cecilia. She's asking you guys to support Dr. Don. She does religiously every month, and I greatly appreciate it. And it is expensive. What we do is very expensive. I was just talking about getting fiber. So that we can increase our bandwidth and and won't ever have to worry about our signal looking choppy or the audio dropping out ever again. And a price tag comes with that. One of these days, I'm going to get my camera and kind of turn it around so you can kind of see our setup inside of the studio. We've got a lot invested in all of this to be able to do it. So any support you can send our way, we do greatly appreciate that. You can go to any of our daily broadcast, even the top of this video, once it's over and it posts, you'll see all the different ways that you can support us, and we appreciate you doing that. If you own a business, we'd love to have you as a partner as well. Just send me a message on Messenger, and I can have you started before we do our next broadcast. It's very simple, quick, and doesn't take long to get set up at all. Cragford, Alabama, about an inch. Yeah. I'm going to start handing out doctor excuses to get you guys out of work on Friday. How about that? Oh, April, that's cool. I hope he gets to see some snow, too. I tell you what, April, you grab that young'un and come on up here to Cleveland, Georgia, or Helen, Georgia. Your odds of seeing it up here are pretty doggone good. Matthew, we are on a rural electric co-op electric power grid where I live, and it's going to be through that company, Habersham Electric Cooperative. It's HEMC. They provide a fiber system called Trailwave, and that's what they're installing in this particular area right now. Lineville. Half inch to an inch. Same thing for Clay County. Same thing for Randolph and Roanoke. Sleet and freezing rain in southern Walker County. It's possible you get a little bit, but I don't think you're going to get enough for it to be a significant impact in Walker County. You're right there on that line between snow and or you're on the southern end of the heavier snow axis. So your switch to all liquid's probably going to come a little quicker than folks to your north. So I wouldn't expect you to stay in that freezing rain period very long. So I don't think you got a whole lot to worry about. See you, Linda. You're welcome, Nancy. Yes, Bryce Barrett, you're going to be frigid right alongside me. Bryce is our PIO at White County Public Safety. He also plays the role of producer Tracy at work. Wait a minute, that didn't sound right. I'm talking about as far as producing. Because we do these also, and some of you were on there this afternoon. I shared the link with you. We do live broadcast for our locals here in White County, Georgia, from our public safety office, our emergency operations center in Cleveland. And Bryce is behind the camera on those productions. Good to see you in here, Bryce. And he does a marvelous job, too, I might add. The only problem is tonight, while he was producing for me when I was doing my 5 o'clock update, 6 o'clock update, he was eating pork rinds and taunting me with them. That was not cool. And then by the time we got through, he had eaten them all, so there wasn't any left for me. I think I got one. Who eats one pork rind? That is impossible. Thanks, Bryce. When will the rain precipitation end on Friday? Is there a chance of wraparound precipitation on Saturday? Excuse me. Fantastic question, Jennifer. I think for East Alabama and West Georgia, the rain will be ending noon-ish. So you start off as snow 4, 5, 6 a.m. Friday morning. And maybe you have snow and a mix of snow and sleet for a couple of 2 or 3 hours up until around 9 or 10 Friday morning. And then you quickly transition over to all rain. Wipes out what accumulation has taken place. And then by noon, 1 p.m., the rain is gone for East Alabama and West Georgia. We still got it coming down up here in Northeast Georgia. And then probably 2, 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, the winds are going to pick up out of the northwest, 20, 30 miles per hour. Going to be pretty going to be pretty breezy in the afternoon on Friday. And then as we get into Friday night, and especially after midnight Friday night into Saturday morning, there will be some wraparound moisture on the backside of the low. And we could see snow flurries at times across East Alabama and West Georgia during the pre-dawn hours of Saturday and into Saturday morning. By Saturday afternoon, I think everything is completely gone. We may get up into around 37, 38 degrees in East Alabama and West Georgia, maybe even the lower 40s, which would be fantastic to warm things up a bit. But because of the wind and the fact that we'll get well above freezing Saturday, I think most of the residual moisture would dry up on Saturday, so I wouldn't anticipate black ice problems Saturday night. Now, let me back up to Friday night. There could be some black ice issues Friday night across East Alabama and West Georgia. Any moisture that's left over from Friday's rain and any wraparound snow showers could cause some problems on some of the roadways on Friday night. So that is something to keep in mind if you're going to be traveling on Friday night. Auburn's probably down there around that Trace area. You're going to be right there on the I-85 corridor. So, a dusting on the grass, rooftops, car tops, certainly possible in the Auburn-Opelika area. Roanoke is half-inch to 1-inch possibilities for snow. I know they were delicious, Bryce. That one that you let me have was pretty doggone good. One. Oh, so Bryce says there are some. He didn't eat them all. He just hid them from me. I expect a whole brand new bag, unopened. Wedowie's in that 1-inch range, 1.5 maybe. Timmy, you must have not heard what I just said. It should start in East Alabama sometime 4, 5, 6 a.m. Friday morning. I think closer to 4. I think it starts pre-dawn hours across East Alabama and West Georgia. Penn, Alabama. You're down there in that Newman Farm country. We're talking half-inch, 3/4 of an inch possible down in Chambers County. All right, let's see here. What kind of time we got? We're coming up on 1 hour. I said I was going to limit it to 1 hour tonight. Well, thank you, Martha. I appreciate that compliment. Martha says that she likes my no-nonsense approach. And see, that's the whole thing. That's what we do here. I mean, for those of you who don't know me and don't know my history, I've spent 22 years in Randolph County. I was the EMA director there. I was also on radio there. That's what brought me to Randolph County back in 1990-something. at Eagle 102 and WELR. And so that was my specialty when I was in radio, weather. Everybody knew, everybody within 100 miles of Roanoke, Alabama that listened to Eagle 102 knew that if we had significant weather at 2 o'clock in the morning, they could turn their radio on and I'd be there. That was just my thing. That's what I do. And so a lot of folks got used to that. And then, can you believe almost 15 years ago, when we left Randolph County and moved up to northeast Georgia, that was one of the hardest parts about leaving, was leaving all that behind, because I truly do enjoy being able to do this for you guys. And then along came social media. And I'm like, how can we make this work? So with social media and internet and technology the way it is now, I can do it. And we can do it on social media, and you guys, it doesn't matter where I'm at. You guys can still benefit from that. And I'm providing a service to you that you're not going to get from Birmingham television or Atlanta television. And that's a whole nother discussion that we could spend hours talking about. So I'm able to fill that void. And I've been doing this a long time. I'm not a meteorologist, but I've been doing this a long, long time. I'm a messenger. I take what the Weather Service puts out there, and I relay it to you in terms that you can understand. And I throw a little experience in there because I've been through this so many times. Sometimes I put my opinion in it, but I don't make the forecast. I don't sit here with the bean counter pencil in my hand with rulers and do all the drawings and that kind of stuff. I was horrible at math in school. That's why I didn't go to school to be a meteorologist, because you got to be pretty doggone good at it to be able to get that degree. So that's kind of what we do, and I'm honest about it. I am. I tell you like it is, and a lot of people are here because they suffer from weather anxiety, and I try to help with that as well, because you know what? Weather was taking place when the light switch was turned on in this old world, and weather's going to be taking place when the light switch is flipped off in this old world. It's part of life. And there are a lot of things you can do to help protect yourself, but there's no need to get anxious about it or worry yourself sick over it, because it's going to happen regardless. And worrying about it and getting anxious over it's not going to change a thing. So the best thing to do is to follow advice and be weather aware, and we're going to talk you through those events. That's just part of what we do here at Dr. Don's Weather. Thank you, Sonia. I appreciate that. Yes, Terry, I think Lineville will get a little snow. Not sure it's going to be enough to make a big man snowman, but you will get some snow in Lineville, probably around the half-inch to 1-inch range, I think. Hey, Miss Anya, good to see you in here. Yeah, Miss Cecilia was one of those that used to follow me when I was on the radio station there. I can remember she'd call in every morning out there milking them cows. You're welcome, Terry. There's the mayor of Dickert, Miss Ellen Sims. Thank you, Anya. I appreciate those kind words. Alexander City, probably half-inch to an inch. You're welcome, Terry. All right, so we're going to wrap this thing up. I got a tremendously long day ahead of me tomorrow. Let's see, tomorrow is Thursday, right? Yeah, okay. So here's kind of how things are going to work moving forward. I'm not going to produce a primetime forecast in the morning. I will do a live update in the morning, much like what we've just done, though it probably won't be nearly as long as what I've just done. So I'll go live in the morning, probably somewhere around 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, because I'm not going to go to the office until about noon. We have a weather briefing at 12:30 in the EOC, and then I'm probably going to return back to the studio for a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night, and then I'm going to be in the office for good starting at midnight tomorrow night. We're going to stand up our Emergency Operations Center. So I'll be working from midnight tomorrow night until this is over with up here in Northeast Georgia. But I will be broadcasting and streaming live during that time from my office here on Dr. Don's Weather and also over on our White County Public Safety pages. So we're going to continue to stream to you. It may not look like this. It may look a little bit different. But we will be getting that information out there to you and doing periodic updates throughout this entire event as we watch and see this thing unfold. Yeah, if you do start to get snow and it's pretty outside, and you can get out there with your camera and get some short video and send them to us. Send us pictures and video. We'll show them here on Dr. Don's Weather. You can send them to me on Messenger. That's the absolute best way to communicate with me. Always remember that. You can do it on Messenger. And you can do it to Messenger directly to me, Don Strength, or you can go to Dr. Don's Weather page and send us a message over there. Either way, Messenger is the best way to communicate with me anytime during severe weather or any other time. So we're going to wrap this thing up and try to get a little bit of rest tonight because beginning tomorrow, it's going to be rough up here in Northeast Georgia until this is over with sometime on Saturday. So with all that being said, remember, we're under a winter storm watch at the moment. I fully anticipate an upgrade to a winter storm warning sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning, and I think that will probably be along the I-20 corridor and north for the warnings. And then south of the I-20 corridor, I think you're probably looking at a winter weather advisory. And they may add a county or two on the south end under that winter weather advisory just to be on the safe side as well. And then that'll happen again sometime later on tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. And I'll be along 8, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning with the absolute latest information for this winter storm as it pertains to East Alabama and West Georgia. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your evening. Try to stay warm. Good Lord willing, the creek don't rise. I'll see you back in here tomorrow morning on Dr. Don's Weather.